I saw it. Before I begin, I just want to say that this movie wasn't necessarily bad, it just wasn't good. Also, just a huge disclaimer, I'm going to be spoiling the movie a little bit. I'll be referencing some clips and what happened in the movie, so if you're going to pay money to see this movie, probably shouldn't watch this video first, unless you just, I don't know, decide that after watching this video that you want to see the movie, which, well, I guess that's up to you. Also, another disclaimer, this is my personal opinion. I can have one of those as I'm entitled to it. So without further ado, let's get into the review. So the movie starts off and the first thing you see is Diablos attacking a ship full of hunters. Immediately one of the things I noticed with this movie is that there's gonna be some deaths, like actual deaths. People die in this movie, which is a little weird for Monster Hunter, but I guess they're trying to make it a little bit more realistic. Okay, so they're all on the ship, they're just chilling, they're having a great time, you know, laughing and joking around with one another, and Diablos attacks, hit the ship, one guy just magically gets impaled and he's gone. That's it. It's over for him. After that, it cuts to another scene where you're seeing these army trucks driving in the desert, and it's the group of people that first show up in the movie trailer. You see the captain, which is it's the lead, the woman that you can play as in Monster Hunter World. She's there. She's kind of heading the whole troop. They're going and trying to find this Bravo team that was lost. Initially, while they're driving to find the Bravo team, they saw some tablets on the side of the road. They're like markers, just these kind of huge rectangular totem pole things that had Monster Hunter inscriptions and writings on them. They saw them on the side of the road and they were just wondering what they were there for. So in the effort to find this Bravo team, they come upon these tracks and the tracks just have a dead stop. So they're kind of confused as to why. There's like no sign of any fight or anything, and that's kind of where the movie starts. So while they're there monitoring the tire tracks, the captain issues some orders to recon the area. So one guy goes on top of a sand dune, and then in the distance he sees this thunderstorm coming up and approaching them. So they decide, okay, we're gonna have to escape this storm before we get sucked into it, and that's kind of what they do. So they're driving for a little bit. The storm is very quick. It catches up to them, and they're in the middle of a thunderstorm with these trucks and trying to, like, you know, drive away as fast as they can. The thunderstorm starts hitting those markers, those rectangular tablets that they saw on the road earlier, and the next thing you know, they just got teleported into another world. As soon as they spawn into the other world, they see the trucks of the Bravo team, and they see some really burnt charcoal, crispy bodies along with it. The sand around the burnt bodies was turned into glass, so you know that fire was hot. After that, they pretty much said, well, we found the Bravo team, let's go on our way and try to find our way back home. After going through the desert a little bit, they find this huge skeleton, which is a skeleton of Jin Moran, which I thought that was pretty neat, just to put that little tidbit in there. But upon finding the skeleton, Tony Jaa, who is the hunter in the movie, spots them from a very far distance and shoots a paintball arrow pretty much at one of the skeleton ribs and alerts them that there's danger coming. So they look behind them, and then, what do you know, they see Diablos. Upon noticing Diablos, they immediately try to shoot at Diablos, which the bullets do absolutely nothing. So they attempt to run away. Diablos knocks over one of the trucks. One person dies by being impaled again, and a few of them actually are able to escape and kind of get like shelter in this cave area. Oh yeah, and one guy actually gets smashed between a rock and a car that Diablos flipped over. While they're in the cave, Nerscylla comes up, stabs the captain, puts her to sleep. Everyone else kind of freaks out, and they have to leave the captain, and then a whole gang of Nerscylla, just tons of them, tons and tons of Nerscylla just coming out of the woodworks trying to attack the people. They leave the captain on the ground. While they're running, another guy gets captured by the Nerscylla because of the web. He gets kind of slung up, and next thing you know, Nerscylla just chomps on my man and just completely obliterates him. All the Nerscylla capture every single one of the captain's troop. It goes back to the captain. You see the captain on the ground trying to regain consciousness. The captain regains consciousness for like a few seconds. Next thing you know, Nerscylla comes out and just is like, oh, you're not asleep? Let me stab you again, put you to sleep. The captain wakes up in this cocoon. She escapes. She looks around, sees some of her other troop members in cocoons, and they're dead. She finds some supplies and then tries to find her way out of the nest area of the Nerscylla. And while she's trying to make her way out, something grabs her on her shoulder really quick. And then it's like T.I. Like T.I. just comes out of nowhere and he's just like, oh, Captain, I found you. I don't know why you just want to call out and let her know beforehand that, hey, Captain, you know, say something first instead of just grabbing somebody on the shoulder. But that's what they do in this movie. So T.I. is badly wounded and he can't walk. He's having a hard time. He's like hobbling and everything. The captain's looking like, T.I., I'm about to leave you behind. And next thing you know, T.I.'s just like, I'm so, and he just, I don't know, he just starts like kind of, I don't know, just being in so much pain. And then he just rips his shirt, and then you just see these like Nerscylla eggs on his abdomen and his his ribs, just like all these eggs and stuff. And then as soon as he looks at the eggs, what do? They just like, hey, you know what? This would be a great time to just start hatching. So they all just start hatching. You see all these small baby Nerscyllas just kind of like attacking them and stuff. And the captain at that point is just like, all right, man, you're dead. I'm out of here. So the captain is able to escape. Once she finds her way out, she looks back at the Nerscylla, and it's about daytime now when this is all going on. After she escapes, the Nerscylla apparently don't like the sun for some reason. So they don't go out to attack her, even though they have the opportunity to, because I guess the sun hurts them, I suppose. Tony Jaa finds her at this time, and then they get into like a little fight scene for some weird reason, which I don't really understand the reason why, because in the beginning, Tony Jaa tried to help them by warning them that a Diablos was going to attack them soon. So why would he attack the person that he originally tried to help? That wasn't really explained. He just started attacking her. So he ties her up and brings her back to his camp that he has in the middle of like the whole Nerscylla nest, which is a little bit safer than what's around them, because the nest is like around this huge rock area and he's like in the center of the rock, so he's pretty well protected. While they're in there, she's watching him from a distance, all tied up. Tony Jaa's like doing these Sharingan Naruto hand signals and praying to these little idols on the side. So this part coming up is a little bit more Monster Hunter-esque. Tony Jaa and the main lead decide to make up and say, you know what, let's work together so we can get out of this area. Diablos is circling around the rock because it knows that they're still in there, and I guess he really just wants to stab them. They decide to kill a Nerscylla because they can get some of the sleep poison and try to put the Diablos to sleep. So that plan actually was a good idea. Tony Jaa goes and kills a Nerscylla by putting up this little trap, and it's not like a shock trap or a pitfall trap, nothing like that. All he has is just some rope and like weight, so if the Nerscylla goes over the rope, then the rope will catch and it'll hold the Nerscylla back, and that was kind of like their plan. The main lead would act as bait. She'd be running, Nerscylla would follow, the Nerscylla would get caught. Tony Jaa then jumps down and slashes it with the great sword and kills it. They extract the poison, or in this case, the sleep poison, I suppose, and put it on an arrow to use against Diablos. At this point, the captain's kind of preparing with Tony Jaa to take on the Diablos. So she's learning how to use the dual blades, and she puts the dual blades up in like the demon mode fashion, and they like start catching on fire. So that was interesting. Then it skips ahead a little bit, and Diablos is out there, so they try to get its attention by throwing out some things so they could like be attracted to that sound or the vibration on the ground. They try to get towards a better angle so they can fight the Diablos. They shoot the arrow at the Diablos. It hits the Diablos' eye, and it doesn't really put him to sleep. It kind of disorients him for a little bit. The main lead, the captain, ends up trying to fight Diablos by herself because Tony Jaa gets hit into like a rock and he's kind of unconscious. But before he actually gets unconscious, he stabs Diablos in the head and just kind of tries to kill Diablos by stabbing it right in the head. Doesn't really work. The sword doesn't go deep enough. The main lead tries to get on top of Diablos. She surely does, grabs the great sword and stabs it right in the head, and Diablos is dead. So the plan after they kill Diablos is to go to this huge tower that they see in the distance that's covered by the thunderstorms and whatnot. On the way there, they run into like this oasis area where there's Apsaros, and they're kind of just chilling around there for a little bit, and they decide to camp there for the night. While they're camping there, Rathalos comes up and he just starts burning a lot of stuff during the night. Apsaros catch on fire and they're just like stampeding towards their camp. Next thing you know, the Admiral comes out of nowhere and slams the ground, which at the time I thought was, oh, that's a charge blade, but it's not. It's actually a switch axe. And when he slams the ground, it creates this seismic wave, a fire seismic wave. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, is that how the switch axe works? After saving both of them, he brings them back to the ship that we saw in the beginning of the movie. It's a little broken up and battered, but you can still just like kind of chill in it. So he has all the people that were there in the beginning of the movie initially on the ship. Everyone's still alive, they're doing fine. And he starts talking about these ancients, they're called, that have monsters in place to keep people from accessing technology that they have stored away. Yeah. So the whole reason that the monsters are there is to protect that huge tower thing, because there's ancient technology stored there by these people called the Ancients. And the monsters are supposed to protect the area. The Admiral is also the only person who can speak English, because other people have visited the world before, so I guess he picked up the language. So when he's explaining all these things to her, he tells her also that the Sky Tower that they see in the distance is the bridge between both of their worlds. Upon making their way to the Sky Tower, Rathalos is there to greet them. Rathalos starts attacking, they attack back. Next thing you know, the captain is on the edge of a cliff and she decides to jump. I don't think she had any thought process behind it, but she just jumps. And she gets saved because a portal opens up, because there's a storm going on and the whole Sky Tower thing is a bridge between worlds. Portal opens up and she actually gets put back into her regular world. She wakes up and she's back in a regular world. Choppers are flying around because they're looking for the Alpha team, which was their team that got lost. They find the captain, they put her on the chopper, and she thinks she's saved. Well, she's actually not saved. A portal opens up and Rathalos comes out and he just starts annihilating all the choppers, ripping them in half, blowing them up, putting them on fire. This part was actually pretty neat. I think this is probably one of the coolest parts of the movie. Her chopper gets taken down by Rathalos and it doesn't explode, even though he did some major damage to it. She gets out of the medical bed that she was strapped to and attempts to start fighting the Rathalos. All the army people that are also there attempt to fight Rathalos, but he's just destroying them, completely destroying those people. After pretty much all the other army people are dead, she tries to fight Rathalos one-on-one, and she uses the slinger, which they did incorporate the slinger into this movie. She uses the slinger, grapples onto Rathalos, slashes his wing slightly, and drops down. Rathalos is kind of just watching her do this. I don't know why. He was literally just annihilating and slaughtering people just left and right, but for some reason with this main character, he just decides to take his time. So she falls down after slashing one of his wings a little bit, not even dealing that much damage to it. She then has this canister in her hand that she lights on fire and puts into the slinger. And at this time, Rathalos decides that it's a good time to open his mouth to shoot a fireball. She shoots the slinger ammo right into his mouth and he just starts exploding, Like inside of his throat, he's just blowing up. Tons of explosions. And that's pretty much the end of Rathalos. So after finishing that, the Admiral is talking to her at this time because the Admiral also came through the portal. And he's just explaining that more monsters are also going to be coming and so forth. So she decides to go back into the portal to the other world and help them kill the monsters. And the monster that they're fighting at the end is Gore Magala. So Gore Magala does show up in the movie. It's just at the tail end of the movie. And that's the end of the movie. If I were to give this movie a rating off the top of my head right now, I would probably say 2 out of 5 stars. And the only reason why it gets 2 out of 5 stars, well, is because 1, this is 1 star, I like Monster Hunter. And 2, I felt like the CGI was actually pretty decent for the monsters. Everything else could have been improved on. The story wasn't really that interesting and didn't follow what Monster Hunter really is, which is just about hunting monsters. They tried to incorporate some type of background story and involve these things called ancients and technology that are supposed to be guarded by the monsters, and it seems a little like lame. That's just what it is. It's just kind of lame to me. I really hope you guys enjoyed this movie review. There's a chance I'm going to do more of these in the future if you enjoyed this one. So one way you can show me that you like the video is by leaving a like on the video. That's very much appreciated. And I hope you'll come back and probably view some of my other videos as well. So I'll just leave it at that. Hope you have a good one and you take care.